This video has been sponsored by Stream Elements, where you can get your own Dragon Knights hoodies, shirts, mouse pads, gaming cases, mugs, everything right here. All of it's in the link description below. Greetings, my Dragon is Dragonborn. This is Dragon here, aka Dragonborn, and welcome to my Maximo review. Series review, which basically, I talk about my own thoughts and opinions about particular games. Now, again, I'm probably going to mention this a little bit later in my video, but, this is just, something I definitely want to talk. And, of course, except for looking at it as a completionist, if you want to look at it as a trophy, and a trophy hunter, go ahead. If you're a casual, just have fun. And that said, I definitely hope that y'all enjoy this video. This whole thing of me just talking, rambling and stuff right over there, and I hope that at least you enjoy. Now, as y'all saw me talking here, but yeah, mostly my experience with Maximo, Ghost of Glory, and Maximo versus the Army of Sin is definitely a good two games that welcome in. The first game is basically a typical, you found out the bad guy, and you took him out, then you actually found out a couple of things to this. And of course, here's a guidebook that you definitely can pick up sometime. And anyways, but then you figure out, yeah, he's the bad guy, and turned out to be the one to go against you. And as typical Ghost, Ghouls, and Goblins, franchise, yeah, you gotta go save, your partner, and so on and so forth. And this is basically where it definitely comes out. Now, of course, I took some footage of what I took from Maximo. My two Maximo, Ghost of Glory, and Maximo versus the Army of Sin from here, so to make this review. And now, Maximo 2 or Maximo Ghost of Glory is definitely a way to, to tie in a little bit more, but it felt a little bit more just basically bolts in general. Like before Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. So it's just, it's honestly both. The second game is an okay game. It is a little shorter than usual, yeah. And of course, can be a little harder. And I already said in my reviews, why these games are really good games to pick up. And of course, and I personally believe too that these two games can overall can pick up and be played, through emulation or just, getting your own system and pick up and play. Because truly, in my personal opinion, yeah, these games are really worth it. They may age a little bit bad, but it's not as bad as some who would definitely think about it. Just in my personal opinion, yeah, I had struggles collecting the the kisses and stuff, and had to stop and redo for the first game. Now the second game, it definitely pick up from the last way. It definitely picks up from you can just buy the abilities, which definitely make it easier just to to use your own, just to to collect things. And of course, I haven't gotten all the scrolls, but to me, I was trying to focus this as a completionist run more than just a full-on, a full-on, just a not completionist run, but just a casual run. And I think this is where the whole point of these Maximo games or these Elo games, it's yeah, you can pick these games up just to complete if you wish to, but it's not necessarily as these these newer games now. It's just, it can be challenging. Yes, it can be a little bit hardship, and the bosses, mostly like Maximo 1 and 2, it has its quirks. Again, it's just it's rated E games, typical things so it's pretty good. But, you know, and again, it's up to whoever wants to complete it. And from my personal opinion too, you can be okay just doing it if if these games definitely come out to be like a trophy hunting, right, which I kind of run into, and just dependent. And to me, I actually enjoy being a trophy hunter because I at least can complete the game in my own way, and to me that feels like completion. Now, if it was Gerard or whoever actually does these full 100% completion, like beyond, like find every nook and cranny, it really depends on somebody. And of course, I personally think in general it's a really toss-up. It's the best way of me saying it because it's a good, both games have its ups and downs. Yes, Maximo 2 definitely has its own, first assault, but it just I just don't really know what else to say, because yeah, I think Maximo 2 definitely has some really good flaws going to it, but I think it can still work out in the end too. And there are a couple of abilities that has been missing from Maximo 2. I gotta say, at least for myself, it is something I probably wish to, to show a little bit more. I guess that's just my personal taste on it. And it's just, in general, these are games that honestly nobody knows about, which is surprising to me, because I thought, at least in a way, these games can be at least shown into the world now. Again, I don't know if Capcom can actually can release these, these newer these older games to have a remastered. And I honestly don't know. It'd be cool though, and again, depending on who you go to. Of course, I keep getting sidetracked there, but anyways, it is that I definitely want to mention, if you are like a completionist like Gerard, aka the completionist, this game may be, I really don't know, honestly. Now, for a trophy hunter, if they definitely release it, I hope it's not like this extremely hard trophies to get. I definitely hope at least it will have a challenge, but not too much of a challenge. And not much extreme, or like 0.001% left of, of these things. And honestly, I am not seeing, just in my general, I think anybody who's at least a fan of Maximo goes to Glory or versus the Army of Zen. I think anybody just in the Maximo series that can literally say, like, yeah, there's just I'm not saying there won't. It's just, if there will be a Maximo 3, I wonder how is it going to be. Is it going to be kind of close to the hype like it was, or is it just going to be like its own thing from a different developers? Because it really depends. Like, take Crash Bandicoot, the Insane trilogy. Okay, even before then it was Naughty Dog, but then they decided to stop. Then they decided just to gun it, from the Crash series for, well, if you look behind the scenes, for good reason. Same with Spyro. But now if you look at, like, Crash, I think it's like basically Crash 4, you can see it's Toys for Bob that made the Crash trilogy, And of course I'll probably do a review, but it's just that one thing that I think anybody can at least understand. It's definitely, I wonder how well can Maximo 3, if it does get developed and when it gets releases, remastered, because I personally think they probably would. and maybe just alone, probably get a remaster. And since that's been said, it's just at least get that out of the way. Now, there is a couple things I definitely want to talk about. Now, in the original Maximo Goes to Glory, you can keep a golden armor, but it's like, the traditional, Ghosts, Ghouls, and Goblins. Now, Maximo 2, as you can probably see right here, I keep it. And the other thing, too, is to basically Maximo versus the Army of Zen, is like you can keep this armor if you want to do a golden armor run. But the thing is, though, it's not like the invincibility one, just like in Maximo versus the Maximo versus, and of course if I keep saying versus, I meant to say Maximo and the Ghost to Glory. But anyways, now there is some things that they definitely changed into Maximo versus the Army of Zen. As anybody who probably at least picked up my review, at least understand my review about this, yeah, it's definitely worth it, And the other thing is, too, I got to say, is Maximo 2, it's probably going to stay on its cliffhanger. And honestly, it might be a while. But now, the other thing about Maximo 2, I can literally say, is that most of it's because of the simple fact it has brought in some new weapons, and of course the previous boxers that ain't worth to collect, now it's worth to collect again. And they brought in, a couple of other stuff to this, Maximo, in the series, and now to me is so cool. And it's just really amazing how well that Maximo 2, yeah, it had its cheesy stuff and brought in some new NPCs to make this game feel a little bit alive. Now, in Maximo 1, yeah, it didn't have that much, NPCs, but you only fought enemies, and to me, that just kind of feel a little bit lackluster. Now here, of course, you got two vendors, which is a vet who sells mostly your weapons and stuff. Then you got the vendor, or pender, that can sell you like your, boxers, shield upgrades, and stuff. And which is actually really helpful. So, and that's just my personal opinion right there. And and of course, I actually gave these two games both my Horde, which is basically complete the game. Either, 100% it, like if you're doing a trophy run, or at least a casual run, best way of saying it for the completionist, or a completion run, it really depends on to you. And instead for looking at like as its own thing or of its own way, I wanted to bring a little bit more, to this series. Of, except for looking at it as a completionist eyes, why not a casual or a trophy hunter that at least has done a little bit more stuff to it, So that's just, I can literally say, at least to me, except for looking at just completionist, of course, it's gonna be a little bit rough on you, but I'm just still new to the 100, the completion. But if it was like 100%, like a trophy hunting, or just, in 100%, but I still missed out a couple secrets, I'm still, okay with that. So, but yeah, that's what, to me, I personally think. And, of course, Maximo 2, it definitely has a little bit more steady, more towards its own, like, storytell, like it, usually is. And to me, that's pretty cool, too. And, of course, and exact same thing with Maximo 2, it's just like Maximo 1, when it comes to the boss fight, like I mentioned. And if you tend to, notice the trend, it's like its own thing. And honestly, it's not as bad as anybody else can think of. I definitely enjoy a little bit Maximo 2. Its ending a little bit better, in my personal opinion, is because it just, of course, I'm a sucker for just to enjoy a little bit more of a storytelling, and that's just what Maximo 2 actually delivered. I wish they didn't do much. Now, again, Maximo 2 is a good, steady platformer, 100%, and that's still pretty good too, in my personal take of it. And alone, if I can at least get this, Maximo 2 some credit, it's definitely worth at least playing. Maybe have your own opinions, and that's okay too. And some people actually tend to have their own opinions, and that's okay too, because in many ways, this is just still like its own, its own thing. And of course, and since I've actually played 2 and have been doing it to some degree to at least have my own taste with this, it's definitely worth it in my personal, and fitting into basically my personal opinion of Maximo Goes to Glory and versus the Army of Sin, or just in these games in general. Yeah, there are some flaws, and it always will be flaws here, and honestly, the cliffhanger will always remain as a cliffhanger, because, well, that's what's always gonna happen. And sadly, I don't know if ever Sophia will come back, or will ever show up in these later games now. For that in mind, my Dragon Knights and Dragon Wars, for both Maximo series or just the Maximo series, there were 54 deaths, 49 levels completed, 14 items collected, 9 bosses defeated, 29 abilities and moves collected, and 4 sages saved, and total hours of playtime is 12 hours. For that, and of course I'll end up showing it here, my Dragon Knights Dragon Warriors. I definitely hope that at least you know what my score card is revealed right about here now. Alright, my Dragon Knights and Dragon Warriors, as usual, I'll give my final thoughts and opinions about this game, about the series. And of course, by this time, I don't know if there is, or maybe there is, and I already already mentioned it, but right now, at least this time of recording, there hasn't been any new Maximo Goes to series. And as always, my Dragon Knights Dragon Warriors, I give this both Maximo Goes to Glory of ratings of both Maximo Goes in Glory and Maximo versus the Army of Sin of Rebirth It. Alright, that'll be it for now, my Dragon Knights Dragon Warriors. Hopefully I didn't mute my mic this time, because when I actually did, I muted my mic. But anyways, I just want to at least, simply say thank you if you actually did make it this far. The code is family, Dragon Family. And if you actually did, let me know in the comments below that you made it this far. And of course, I'll probably end up putting it somewhere in the video too. It's like, hey, if you made it this far, please click here. So as always, my Dragon Knights and Dragon Warriors, I hope that you at least enjoy at least for right at this time recording, these 2 of me just mentioning about my personal two games that I already reviewed, and fucking the complete series, my thoughts. And as always, my Dragon Knights Dragon Warriors, if you like stuff, please burn that like button. Also, if you don't like stuff, hit thumbs down reason, which is okay. Kill the subscribe button to join the family of Dragon Knights and Dragon Warriors. Comment and share, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications so that we stay up to date and helps out the channel as much as my second channel. As always, linked in the description below and up in the tags too, which also will definitely help. And as always, my Dragon Knights and Dragon Warriors, I hopefully see y'all in the next one. This is Dragon Knight here, aka Dragonborn, signing out.